Hi, I'm Ben. I'm an InterNACHI certified home inspector, and today we're going to inspect this house. It's a big house. It's a beach house, and it is in the middle of summer and it's really hot, but I have some help today. I've got two home inspectors. Let's go meet them.
Hey, Ben.
How are you, Christian?
Good to see you.
Hey, Grant. How are you?
Nice to meet you again.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
And you guys are from US Fin Home Inspection,
Yes, sir.
and you're in the Outer Banks area from Kitty Hawk?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Kitty Hawk, North Carolina.
Yep. And you guys are North Carolina licensed home inspectors,
Correct.
InterNACHI members and certified inspectors.
Yes, sir.
And you've been in business for a long time.
Yep.
And you're going to help me inspect this house?
Let's go do it.
Let's do it.
Where do we go first?
We're going to jump right upstairs to the kitchen.
Okay, awesome. Let's go.
All right.
Christian, we're going to set up in the kitchen. This is what you normally do first?
A lot of the beach houses out here are what's called a reverse floor plan. So the kitchen, dining room area, and living room is all on the third floor or the top floor so we can see the beautiful ocean.
Usually, the normal plan for a house is front door, you go into the living room, and there's a kitchen and dining room. But this is a beach house, so they throw everything really good up on top so you can see the water.
Yep, so I'll usually sit here for the first 5 minutes of my inspection, look for a good surf spot after the inspection's over.
Yeah. That's the benefit of being a home inspector. Okay, so what do you do? Do you actually set up anything, or you just put your tools here?
So I collect all my tools and everything that I need up here. So I'll refer back to this place when I need it.
And what do you inspect first in the house?
So since we're in the kitchen, I'll start with the kitchen. Moreover, I'll go to the dishwasher, start the dishwasher.
Okay.
I always want to run a full cycle through the dishwasher as I do the inspection.
Now, we met your dad, Grant, outside. You guys usually do 2 inspector jobs, or?
We do,
Yeah.
So we work as a team.
Yeah.
And
how's that work? Who's doing what?
So we always divide and conquer.
Yeah.
So today we flipped a coin. I'm doing the interior, he's in the exterior.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is let you work in here, and I'm gonna meet Grant outside, and we'll do the exterior, and then we'll come back in. So Christian, he's up in the kitchen setting up.
Yep.
You and I are outside where it's hot. What do you do first when you're a home inspector and inspecting a beach house like this?
You bet. So we're going to start from the outside in.
Okay.
We're going to get perspectives of the property from all 4 corners, and we're going to work our way around. We'll check the dune area as long as we're out that way. And then we'll come back in and do a closer look. And
all right, let's go.
Have at it.
Show me what you do.
You know, Ben, people are buying a house, and down here in the Outer Banks, a lot of times they've never been here before. They come out, they look at a house, they may have seen this place for 20 minutes with a realtor, and they literally forget what it looks like. And they're trying to make, they made an offer on it, but they're trying to get this perspective. So our report is gonna give them that perspective of what they're buying. So we start out here. One of the things that we're gonna look for is the water source, because in the Outer Banks, they're all municipal water. So here's the water source. I'm gonna open this up and take a picture of it, because it's one of the things that I have to do, right? And this can be the main water shutoff for the house. There might be another one inside, but this is the first one we look at. So, we'll take a picture of it.
And it's on. I can see.
And we don't test
and it's occupied.
We don't test it. We don't turn it on and off, but we at least know where it's at. And after I take a close-up picture, I stand back and get a picture of it.
Can I be in the picture?
In relation to the house. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And so there you go. So we've captured that for the homeowner.
That's nice.
So then we'll move over here to the other side. We got front picture. That's right. And we always try to capture our truck in the picture as well. We're observing the roof, seeing what kind of systems we have popping out of the roof, what kind of ventilation, the decks, the landscaping.
We don't even need to go up on the roof, because you can see this. This is in really good shape.
Exactly.
It's relatively new, and I don't see anything wrong from this side. And I was already in the back side.
Right.
Looks in really good shape.
And we have, obviously we've got binoculars and whatnot we can look at as well, but these days, these iPhones are great. We can get a really good close-up picture of all of the roof, the penetrations through the roof. The things that we're going to inspect inside the house, we're going to see outside the house. So,
see anything obviously wrong right now? Major defects?
No, the house looks very square. The roof looks very new. Looks like a nice house. And I'm also concerned with how it sits. Is it the lowest house in the neighborhood?
Oh.
Do I have drainage coming to this property?
Yeah.
In this case, no, it's pretty flat. I know from living here that this area does flood though.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get water in the streets. So these are all things you want to consider.
Yeah.
As we're walking down here, you know, we'll notice the driveway, get some shots of the driveway.
Yeah, some cracks.
Some cracking.
Not a big deal.
No, cracking is very normal in the Outer Banks.
Not really looking at vegetation or anything, unless it's like up against the house or doing something
That's correct.
wrong. Okay.
I just don't want to see it touching the house.
Yeah.
Interfering with your views and whatnot.
And I see this is a safety device on a gate because we have a
Yeah.
pool.
Yeah, very important. We'll do a pool inspection later, but
Okay.
we do want to make sure these gates are operable and they open out.
Have you ever mistakenly fell into a pool?
I haven't, not yet.
No? Okay.
I've been pushed, but
You want to try it today? No, just kidding. So this isn't really part of the house property. We're walking on something like park maintained land.
correct. Yeah, this maintained by the Park Service, the dunes.
As a home inspector, I disclaim a lot of things. I don't have to inspect everything. I'm not responsible for everything.
Correct.
But this is one of the things I would disclaim, but I would still check for my client because I want to give them information that's valuable to them.
That's correct. I mean, they do use this back and forth from the beach all day long, and you want to make sure it's safe.
Yeah,
There's no difference in the construction of this than the deck
That's
around
right.
the house.
that's right.
So the same codes apply. And yes, even though it's not part of a normal North Carolina home inspection, it's part of the beach.
Yep.
And these are rental houses. The owners aren't here,
Yep.
you know, very much of the year. So they're not really in tune with the idiosyncrasies of taking care of a beach home.
Yep.
So part of our inspection is giving them that education.
Yeah.
So they can
Yeah.
refer to it later. And
And
it sets
things
up-
change out here.
yeah, it sets
quickly,
up their
right?
expectations quickly because the dunes change. I mean, it's not uncommon to walk out here and find water rushing underneath your steps.
In general, real quick, what would you say? What's your assessment of the condition of the dune and the steps?
Yeah, the steps here and the deck are obviously almost brand new
Yeah.
compared to the house. So this is outstanding.
Yeah.
And we take pictures down on the beach, back up at the house.
Yeah.
We take pictures up and down the beach.
Yeah.
Because we want to get a good idea of what the dunes are like. Because again, they may have spent 20 minutes here.
Yep.
And now they're back home after making this offer, and this may be the best introduction they get to what they're buying. So
cool.
and if you look down the beach and there's big erosion going on or up the beach,
Yeah.
guess what? You're next.
Yeah.
So you give them an idea of, you know, how their house is situated in
Just
the
like you
neighborhood.
said in the front, where you're checking your neighbors, kind of
Yep.
like elevation.
Correct.
Back here, it's the same thing. You're checking your neighbor's dune conditions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is a great dune, by the way. They had a big storm here several years ago, and this is all new.
It looks really
Yeah,
big.
yeah,
Yeah.
they've had neat beach nourishment down here in
Yeah.
Nags Head, and they've had several homes that fell into the beach
Yeah.
not long ago.
Yeah.
So it's a concern. Ben, we're on
Yeah.
the way back from the beach. We
Yeah.
get a little closer to the house. I got good pictures of the roof.
Yeah, right.
And
From this vantage point, you
Yep.
can see the roof.
foliage, looking down, again, general construction and things that might jump out at you, but not really seeing too much here. We'll get a better look at the deck as we get closer, but get more pictures of everything surrounding it.
Yeah.
And, you know, the immediate of the neighbors too.
I want to see the fasteners on the deck. There's
Yeah.
a ton of corrosion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there sure
Okay,
are.
let's check it out. So I know that this deck is made out of things that corrode over time.
Absolutely.
It's not just the wood that's getting beat up by the
Right.
weather, but it's the fastening, the bolts.
Correct.
They just don't last forever,
No,
especially if they're the wrong material.
right.
Yeah, so let's take a look at the bolt fastening. And what I'm talking about is this
Yep.
stuff, not just the nails, but
Yeah.
this is the really important part. How do you
Yeah.
inspect these things?
Well, after I look at the structure, first of all, I'm looking for obvious signs of movement.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this thing was built 25 years ago. It had different building standards, and you know, it's not going to meet current building standards,
Right.
but that's okay as long as it's safe. Well,
Yeah.
the first thing you want to check about safety are these fasteners,
Yeah.
because they corrode. So I'll take my hammer and I just hit them, see if they fall apart. See if they're loose. Like this one here, you see that's just awful. But at least they're tight.
Now this is a double beam,
Yep.
so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned that because I noticed that there's a crack here.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's unfortunately, it had a natural knot in the wood that
Right here.
has,
Yeah.
it's gotten worse over time. And now it's causing a structural problem of the actual beam.
It looks like it's just keep on
Yeah.
going there.
Yeah, luckily you got two here, so
Yeah.
it's not going to fall down immediately. But this, I would recommend just to have this board replaced
Yeah.
for that homeowner because it's not really essentially doing any good in that condition.
So we've got a defect here,
Yep.
but we also have, I notice, can I use your hammer?
Yep. Go ahead.
Because that's just gone, right?
Yeah, it's just awful. Yep. Yeah, and you can even just peel this out of there.
Look at
it's
that.
It's just crazy.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
a video is a great way to convey condition to your client because it's obviously more traumatic when you see that thing falling apart. It's
Yeah.
one thing for me to talk about a rusty bolt, but when they see it disintegrate before their eyes, they know that it needs to be fixed.
You're not alarmist. You're not an alarmist. You're not scaring everybody away from buying this house. This is a fixable thing. This is a defect, but it can be fixed.
Very fixable.
Yeah.
You know,
You
and
just
that's
pull this out.
exactly.
Put a new one in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't want to scare people about these houses because they could look at 10 other houses in this neighborhood. They're all going to show
All
the
gonna
same
be-
thing because
yeah.
they were all built the same time.
Yeah.
But this is a maintenance issue.
Yeah.
It's not a defect of the design. It's just a maintenance issue.
Yep. Right.
So they
So
need to take
always
care-
get it inspected.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I noticed we got the bolts there, but way up there,
Yeah, that one looks awful.
yeah. And there's only one. Like down here, we see like two,
Right.
but like there's only one up there.
So again, we talk about standards. So we're not doing a code inspection. I'm not out here being a city code inspector.
Right.
I am looking for safety issues.
Yep.
And the fact that a long time ago, they only required one bolt,
Yeah.
you know, on a support beam versus two is just a difference in the codes then and now.
Yeah.
Does it make it unsafe? No, as long as that thing is not falling apart.
But it is.
But it is.
Yeah.
So
So that's a good opportunity.
exactly.
Triggered by your home inspection
Yeah.
to get this up to code with a couple more bolts and fix the problems that you find.
And the language that we would use is bring it up to more modern building standards.
Yeah.
I don't
Yep.
want to use the word code because I'm not doing a code
That's
inspection.
right.
But
That's right. Great idea.
yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Let's go check out the ledger board flashing underneath the deck.
You bet.
Okay, we're underneath the deck, and I love to inspect the deck ledger board and the flashing area. I can see
Mhm.
flashing, but I see problems too.
Yep.
The bolts that we saw on the outside of the house, they're actually more corroded here,
Yeah.
where you would think there's more protection, but
Yeah.
there isn't.
Yeah, because there they get dried out faster probably, but
Yeah.
here it stays wet longer. Yeah, you see the same exact thing with the corroded bolts.
Yep.
Even the flashing starting to show some corrosion.
Yep.
And if it's corroding on the outside, you know it's corroding inside as well.
What about the ledger board?
So-
It's just resting on the ledger board,
Yep.
and the ends of the joists are toenailed, so that's all good. Probably built to code back then.
Yep.
But you noticed that maybe there's missing fasteners?
Yeah. So same thing, modern building standards would have 5 nails under each floor joist.
Okay.
In this case, they did 3, and you see they're rusting.
Yep.
So, you know, they should be galvanized equipment.
Yeah.
And so it needs a few more nails and some galvanized stuff.
Yeah, and there's a give and take
Yeah.
because a contractor may want to come in and say, yeah, I don't do any metal fastening because it's just going to corrode in 2 years anyways.
Correct. And
Yeah.
then the Outer Banks, that is definitely an argument that you'll hear a lot of contractors, you know, I'll point something out and they'll say, well, I don't use those because they
Yeah.
corrode like heck. I'm like, okay, well then put 5 nails under it and have a proper ledger board then.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You know?
And to fix that, just like the other ledger board, it's easy to pop that out and put a new one in. But inside here, we're already inside.
Yep.
This is a finished basement. And that rusted bolt is above the drywall.
That's correct, Ben. And you know, it's unfortunately they're gonna have to do a little more surgery to fix this because
Yeah.
they're gonna have to go in the drywall, the ceiling, and cut that out to get at the back side of that bolt.
Yep.
So they can put a nut on it
Yeah.
and replace it.
All right, so what are we doing here?
Yeah, we're looking at the foundation. So
Okay. But you
know,
can't see it.
I can't see it.
Home inspectors are not required to report on anything you can't see.
Right.
But what are you going to do?
So trying to do the best for my client. I take a nice long screwdriver,
Right.
because in my experience, when I've done this sometimes, and you can feel when you hit that thing beneath the ground, if it's rotten, I've stuck my screwdriver right through it.
Yeah.
And that's the first place you're going to start to see rot, right underneath there.
All right.
And in this case, it's nice and hard. And, you know, looking at the rest of the beam, it's in good shape. And these things, they should last 50 years.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
I'm expecting it to be in good shape. If it's sat in a really low area, you know, you might have more rot going on. But this looks pretty good. I'll check a few of these around the house to get a representative sample of the piers.
Yeah.
So,
and this is a load-bearing component.
Correct.
Load-bearing post.
Yep.
It's not a 4x4.
No.
It's a little bit beefier than that.
Yeah.
Which is good, right?
Yeah, and it's funny you bring it up, because a lot of these houses at the beach were built in the 60s and the early 70s.
Yeah.
And you'll find 4x4 posts underneath porches.
Holding up the whole house.
Yeah, it's crazy. And
but that's different nowadays. Nowadays, if you see anything under a 8x8, maybe a 6x6 is good, but 8x8 for sure.
Correct.
Yeah. There's some stuff on the joists that are exposed. This is underneath the deck. What is that stuff?
So we have a little organic growth. This isn't bad, but it's common down here. And you come under, you can be just completely green. And
who cares? What's wrong with that?
Well, the problem is that the book answer is that the spores, they grow into the wood and they actually destroy the structural integrity of the wood. And they say if you see a board that's completely covered in green moss, the structural strength of the wood can be reduced by as much as 50%.
Yeah.
And so it's literally a hazard.
Yeah.
So you need to keep it clean. If you do keep it clean, it'll last that much longer.
Yeah.
The wood won't be destroying it.
Yep. So there's a service down here on the coastal areas to keep things clean.
A lot of guys in the pressure washing business, and this is the focus of a lot of their work, is on decks.
Yep. And it's a wood destroying organism. It destroys wood.
Yep.
We're not just looking for a termite.
No.
But a bug. This is stuff that can destroy wood.
That's correct.
Not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
Okay, what else are we going to look for?
So we're underneath the house, and here in a coastal environment, you know, your foundation is 10 feet in the air. So you want to make sure the bottom of the house is sealed, because critters can get in there, moisture, it can actually affect the insulation value of your house.
So this paneling here, this is under the living space.
Correct.
That's deck, outdoor deck. This is the living space, so they cover this up.
Correct.
Okay.
And we're also looking for stains, because this is the first place you're going to see a leak under a bathroom. But I want to see all these seams closed. There's nothing hanging down. No one can get in there. Yeah. You know?
Okay.
It's starting to come down there. Yep. So, you know.
Well, while I was looking around, I saw wood rot.
All right.
I don't know. You probably already saw it. Got that screwdriver?
Yep.
Let's see the screwdriver. Oh, no, it's just bad paint, you know? So, oh, maybe that's a little soft. So what do you say when you see, do you poke around and do you try to find wood rot?
Just like we poked around at that other pier. You know, a lot of times you can feel it underneath here if it looks bad on top. Yeah. But you definitely got some here.
Oh, there it goes.
Yeah. Yep. So take a picture of that. You know, it's obvious rot.
At least it's not a major structural load-bearing component.
Correct.
But it should be fixed.
Oh, yeah. And you can see it move.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of times it's great to get a video of that moving so they really understand what the implications are. So
awesome.
Yep.
And we're looking for trip hazards.
Yep.
We really don't see anything.
Yep. And we're looking for the height of the stairs. They should be of similar height. So best way to test it is just to walk up and down it. Yep. And your senses will never lie to you.
If you trip, there might be a problem.
Yep. If there's an inch difference between steps, you're going to feel it.
Yeah.
I could whip out my tape measure, but you don't need to if it feels right.
Right. Right.
So
around the house, we talk about like managing groundwater. Everything should be sloped away from the house.
Correct.
And this is a terrible thing. I see that they actually on purpose put dirt and sand and rocks up against the house, and it's causing problems.
Yeah,
That's not a good idea.
it's a bad idea. Yeah,
I mean, this is the bedroom floor in here,
yeah,
and this is, what do you think the idea was? Just landscaping?
Yeah.
Bad landscaping idea?
yeah. Your siding shouldn't be in contact with the ground, first
Yeah.
of all, and by bordering this and packing it up next to it, you've just trapped water right against the house. So it's a really bad idea. You know, and this is also a hazard because there's
With the
nails,
nails,
sticking
yeah.
out. You know, it's a trip hazard. It's awful.
Little kids running around
Yep.
the corner of the house. Bam.
Yeah. And keep in mind, it's a rental house.
Yep.
There's going to be tons of kids all summer long coming through here.
Yeah.
So,
Yep. And the dense vegetation, you got some trees here. Maybe
Yep.
they should just be cut back and removed. That's only a few inches from the house foundation there.
yeah, that's bad. You've got roots growing next to it. So that's going to compromise the foundation, concrete, and the trees growing, touching the house. I mean, it's terrible. First of all, you can't see the house, so you don't know if you got a problem behind it.
Yeah.
It traps moisture back there and critters and everything else.
Yep.
And if you look back there in the corner, you've got a dryer vent that's right there packed behind that tree.
Yeah.
So you're not going to know whether your dryer vent's plugged up and now you got a fire hazard.
That's
I mean,
right.
it's a lot of things can happen because of trees too close to your house.
And the solution is just cleaning things up.
Yeah.
Clean out the dense vegetation
Yep.
and remove all this soil that shouldn't be up against the house.
Yep.
These are the heat pumps. We got
Yep.
2 units, one for the first floor, one for the second floor, the main floor. And I see a couple things, but I thought it was always a good idea to have a cover over these units to protect it
Yeah.
from the weather.
Yeah, Ben, you really don't want to do that.
No.
Yeah. Especially here in a coastal environment.
Yeah,
where you-
why?
Because you get a lot of sea air. That salty air wants to corrode everything. So
Yeah.
if it's exposed in the rain, it washes that off.
Washes it away.
So a unit that sits out in the rain
Yeah.
will last years longer than one that's undercover that never gets rinsed off.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, for all you that are watching, you know, if you live in a town in Philadelphia, your unit might last you 15 or 20 years.
Yep.
Here, right next to the ocean, 5 to 8 years, you're doing good.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can see that this isn't an old unit, but you can see how corroded it is.
Yep.
And the sun is awful, so it's destroyed your UV's destroyed the insulation on your sea out lines, your vapor line, and
Yep.
your liquid line.
So these should be insulated.
Correct.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
energy efficiency.
Yep. I'm gonna take a picture of that and
Okay.
let the buyer know that
Yep.
they need to replace the insulation on there.
Yep.
And I'll show them the condition of this as well, because again, they looked at the house for 20 minutes. They probably never even looked at this.
So minor rust is okay,
Yeah,
but
Yeah.
you're going to turn this on, make sure it works.
correct.
Yeah, and that one's running already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're going to note the type of Freon that's used.
Yeah.
So another thing that we get with these, you might see an old R22 unit.
Yeah.
R22 was outlawed in 2011. And if you have an R22 unit and it may be working fine, well, that's great. But when it has a problem, a lot of HVAC companies won't even service it at all.
You won't recharge it.
Yeah, so
You
no
gotta-
matter what happens, even if it's a simple problem, it's like you got to replace it.
That's right.
And so the guy buying the house needs to know that.
Yeah.
So this
Yep.
is a liability.
Yep.
So
What about the base? These units are heavy.
you bet.
You got to be on a really good secure base here.
Yep. So again, we live Hurricane City. You know,
Yeah.
This is Hurricane Alley. So I want to see this base. I want to see it bolted. I want to see it very secure. And these units need to be screwed down, like you see here. This one is.
Yeah.
The other one over there behind you has a little more rust on the straps.
Yeah.
If they look compromised, I'm going to point that out.
Because you don't
And-
want these floating away,
You don't, or blowing away.
blowing away. Yeah.
I mean, it's the wind. Yeah.
Winds too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about underneath?
Yeah, so you got your condensate line. So as it's pumping air conditioning in the house, it's obviously condensating a bunch of water and it's dumping it out right here. Well, like we talked about earlier, for some reason, the homeowner decided to put these boards here and,
Yeah.
and trap everything right up against the house.
Great idea.
And so now you see it dripping there, and it's like a mud pool right next to the house, and the siding's all wet. This
Yeah.
is really a bad idea.
Yeah. So on the inside, you have to remember to check the floor, maybe the baseboard on the inside of the house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I also want to point out that what the contractor did here is not against any building code.
Right.
It's perfectly normal for them to do this.
Yeah.
But I'm not worried about the building code. I'm worried about the guy buying the house. I want to advise him on how to maintain his house for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And he needs to get the water away from the house.
Yeah, it's not performing like it should be.
Exactly.
You got to get water away.
Yeah.
And what do we have here? We got some peeling paint.
Yeah, so the Outer Banks are famous for their cedar shake siding,
Yeah.
you know, especially Nag's Head. The owner decided to paint this at some point, probably because the cedar was starting to look old and weathered.
Yep.
And they get a few more years out of it by painting it, and that's fine. But it's already starting. You have to look.
Yeah.
But I would take a picture of this and advise the homeowner that, hey, you know, this house may look great, but it does show its age.
Yeah.
And you're starting to get some rot on some of these shingles. So they can be replaced
Yeah.
one at a time.
Yep.
So it's not like you got to redo the whole house,
Right.
but you do have to maintain it with a new shingle here or there. We have a big storm blow in, it'll blow something off,
Yep.
and you'll have to fix it.
So sometimes it's just a repair.
Yeah.
You
might have
isolate,
to repaint it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you patch it up and paint it.
Not a big deal, but it's not, again, educating that homeowner
Maintenance.
on what are his expectations owning this beachfront home.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, cool. Let's keep going. All right, we're at the rear right corner of the house, and I noticed before we get to the electrical panel or the disconnect, which is going to be a lot of fun,
Yep.
I noticed this. So we have a large gutter above, big downspout coming down, and a ton of water being dumped in this odd location that doesn't seem to be, it's eroding away, or something's wrong here. What do you think?
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? I mean, it's not only eroding away, but it's causing another safety issue for kids or anybody coming through here.
There's a ditch being dug.
Yeah,
right
it's just awful. And pretty soon it's going to start eroding away at your pier, because this is one of your structural members
That's
of the house.
right
here.
there. Yeah.
So
that's holding up the house.
you definitely want to take care of it. They need to get the water away from the house.
Yep.
They could, you know, put another connector there, bring the spout over here. They could bury something permeable, like a big plastic pail that put some rocks in it, put holes in the bottom, and let it dump right there.
Yeah.
And that would keep the erosion from happening and get the water away from the house.
Control the water.
Yep.
Collect it, control it,
Yep.
and then watch where you're discharging it.
And that's what I'm going to advise the homeowner.
Here's the underground electric line, right?
Yep.
And I noticed, I think your son saw that.
Yeah.
That's
Saw
a cracked conduit
Yep.
at the bottom of the meter base.
Yep. The young inspector always finds the
I know.
the hidden things. Yeah.
So maybe because of this, there's some settlement or something happened, but something has cracked and pulled away.
Yep.
And that's a no-go. Whenever you find that, you need a master electrician.
Yeah. You've got water. You know, the wind-driven rains around here. It gets into everything.
Yep.
So yeah, you're going to call the electric company. In this case, Dominion Energy owns this.
Yeah.
This is not the homeowner responsibility.
Okay.
So I just need to tell him to
Yep.
get in touch with them, and they'll come out and they'll replace it. So I just want to make sure that the panel's not energized somehow. So
you're going to use a volt tester.
yeah, so this just tells me if there's anything, if it's hot, it'll light up.
It'll light
so
up.
it's
Okay.
not. So if there's no shorting going on,
Cool.
electrifying the box.
Cool, thanks. Okay, this is the main disconnect.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to say,
What's with the wow? What's wrong?
I have to
don't
say
see
that's
anything
one of
wrong.
the worst ones I've seen. I mean, I've seen some bad ones, but that is really bad.
But like as a home inspector, I know what you're doing. Like you're smiling because this is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
This is actually fun for
Yeah.
us. But it's actually a serious electrical hazard, even a fire hazard.
It really is.
And your son's a firefighter.
Yeah, and you should have some more conversation with him about
Yeah.
it, because this type of thing on the outside of the house, in the Outer Banks especially,
Yeah.
is the major source of fire.
Yeah.
He'll explain to you, but
Water and electricity don't mix.
yeah, it's
And
awful.
anything metallic that's supposed to be secure and safe, like
Yeah.
the fasteners on the deck we were looking at,
Yeah.
shouldn't look like that.
Look at the sand in there.
Yeah, there's actually sand, right? Coming
Wow.
out of the bottom of the main disconnect.
Yeah.
And it's on this panel here, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how it got there, wind or
Yeah.
water or a flood or something, but
Well,
this is no go.
You know, in the Midwest, you have a leaf blower to blow leaves.
Yeah.
In the Outer Banks, you're blowing sand
Yeah.
off your stairs, your decks,
Yep.
everything. And look at how it ends up.
Yep.
It's just,
So we're not going to touch any of this. We're not when there's corrosion like this on a main electrical
No,
component, we're just going to
not.
pass by. We can identify it as 200 amps. You got some breakers here,
Yep.
but that's about it.
Yeah, and also the panel's unreadable. We don't even know what these breakers are.
Yep, the
So,
ledger. Yep.
you know, it's just another reason to call an electrician.
Yeah, and now's the
So,
time
Yeah,
before anything happens.
it's really bad.
Okay. I found the electrical panel for you.
You sure did.
You probably didn't need help. And there's the main disconnect. So we had a disconnect on the meter box.
Yep.
And now we have a disconnect here, which is just fine.
Right.
And all the breakers are full. And I'm advising you, don't touch this, just like we don't touch anything with corrosion on it, right?
Boy, you sure are right in that. You know, it's like an investigation. You saw the one outside.
Yeah.
My first thought was, I want to see the main panel inside
Yep.
and see if it's in the same condition. And sure enough, it is.
Yeah.
They've both been neglected for years, and you know,
Look
time
at
and
the-
moisture.
Look at the fasteners. I mean, you
Oh.
probably, they won't even turn.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to risk trying to get those off because
even
they
break.
might just break.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now we need an electrician at an immediate time because we're breaking things, right?
Yep.
And so let's just let a master electrician come and further investigate.
Absolutely.
Okay, that sounds good. So let's inspect the pool now. So Christian, you want to tell us about the pool inspection?
Sure. So every pool inspection that I do always starts on the perimeter of the pool. So it's part of the pool system and part of its components. So right away we have the self-closing gate. So if I hold the gate open, we're just going to see if the gate closes on its own.
Nice. That worked.
Another part of the gate is actually the locking mechanism. You can see that it's all the way up here, and you have to pull it up. So obviously small children can't just find their way into the pool from the street
So this is really,
and let themselves in.
these barriers are for little kids. We don't want little kids wandering around and jumping into a pool that looks really attractive and then hurting themselves.
Absolutely, yeah. Especially with all the outdoor activities that happen here. Nobody spends too much time inside the house. So everybody's usually out on the beach or going out to their favorite restaurant. And we certainly don't want any children coming in unattended.
So this is the most recent kind of thing, a safety device that I know
Correct.
of, like making sure every entry into the pool area has a barrier of some kind
That's right.
that can't be opened easily by a kid, because this takes some effort and some skill.
That's a tall kid.
Yeah, right. So that's really good. And just like I was talking to your dad, Grant, about code, we're not code inspectors,
That's right.
but maybe if you came across a door, a gate, can you imagine this, that didn't automatically close, you'd put that in the report. right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I want to make sure to let my client know and advise them of the liabilities that they could potentially have with not having a self-closing gate and perimeter.
But even though that was built to code back then,
Sure.
you're going to enforce, well, not really enforce because you're not a code enforcement officer, but
Right.
you're going to mention the most modern, safest standards to protect children.
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and you can see here, obviously, this was the old gate.
Yeah.
It looked like. One other thing to mention with this gate is that you'll notice that it swings outward, right? So even if the lock itself, the mechanism is not working, you're not having a gate that swings inward,
Yeah.
so a child can just press on it.
Easily.
It takes a
come
little
right in.
bit more dexterity to open the gate
Yeah. Cool.
and enter the pool area.
And then you're going to look around the entire perimeter.
That's
and make
right.
Sure.
Yeah, so after I've looked at the gate, obviously we're going to look at everything that's attached to it, right? So we have a solid perimeter all the way around the pool, even coming off of the dune and the beach and the neighboring properties.
You want to take a look at the pool?
Sure.
But how do you inspect a pool without getting in? What do you check?
Right, so immediately walking up to the pool, I just want to look at the entire pool area, and I'm looking at a few main things right off the bat. First thing I'm looking at is the pool deck and the coping immediately around the pool.
What we're standing on. Yeah.
What we're standing on. Yeah, so I'm looking for big major cracks that people could cut their feet on because nobody's wearing shoes inside of the pool.
Oh yeah, right.
And next I'm going to look at the water level,
Yep.
right? And we're looking at just the general cleanliness of the pool.
What do you think about this water level?
It looks a little bit high. So as you can see, as we'll make our way around the pool itself, you see the skimmer over there?
Yeah.
So we want that water about halfway to
Halfway,
3/4 up in the opening of the skimmer.
Because it's supposed to be skimming the surface.
That's right.
But right now the surface of the water is above the skimmer. It's
That's
over
right.
here.
Yeah.
Not
so
doing
it's,
that thing.
it's not essentially doing its job. And we want all of the debris, and we want the pool to filter and cycle the water through. And
Right.
that is the main purpose of it.
You think there's a hose running right now because there's a lot of cannonballs going on.
That's right.
This is a vacation home,
That's
a lot
right.
of parties, and the owner of the pool is going to lose water. But
Absolutely.
they're like, nope, I'm not going to lose any water. We're going to fill it up.
So
all the
they're
time.
gonna, yeah, typically, especially around here, we have a lot of evaporation too that happens.
Yeah.
The pools aren't covered year round. In the summertime out here, especially with the vacation rental houses,
Yeah.
the pool is gonna be open
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah. Okay. And so what do you think these things are? Sometimes there's like a little hole with a screw in it.
Sure,
every
yeah.
once in a while.
Yeah, and you can see we have a couple missing over here. These
Yeah.
are the pool, the cover anchors.
Okay.
And so in the wintertime, when they go to winterize the pool and shut it down for the season, put a massive cover over the top, these screw out of the ground, and then the cover attaches to them.
Okay. And then that is the main drain.
That is,
It's going in down there, and it's got
Correct.
a safe drain cover
that's right.
instead of like having a hole.
Right.
What would a hole do to somebody?
So potentially it could suck you down and keep you there.
Yeah.
So it's a major drowning hazard.
Yeah.
And so we want to inspect just from here. We could see that there's no obvious cracks, deformities. It looks like the screws are fastened all the way, so it's not coming up on any corner of it.
Looks like one main light,
Yep, we have one main light.
and you got a little ladder here.
That's right, yeah. And as I walk around, I always like to just try to manipulate the ladder, make sure that that's safe and fastened securely.
This is the skimmer that's not skimming.
That's right.
Do you pop this open?
Absolutely. Yeah, so we'll pop it open. And I like to look at the edge of the skimmer and see if there's any cracking. A lot of the these houses get beat up. It's no question about it. And a lot of times you'll have a leak, and sometimes they can come from the skimmer itself. And so I like to pull the skimmer basket out, let the water settle, and we can look down into our return plumbing. So I don't see any cracks or anything indicative of a leak.
Okay.
So we could, as a common courtesy, we could take out some of this junk for the
Now, as a
For
home
the
inspector, you're not
renters?
supposed to be repairing things.
that's
that are
right.
broken.
That's right.
All right. So this is the pool equipment. What are we looking at? What should we look at as a home inspector?
Okay, well, first things first, I'd love to see that it's in an enclosed area, so it's protected by the elements. A lot of times, especially out here, these pool pumps will be outside, the sand filters and everything, and they just get destroyed by the sun and the weather. So the first thing I'm going to look at is just anything obvious. So we got a nice big clean area. We don't have a bunch of clutter and debris around here, so the pool and spa technician could come in and actually service this every week. The next thing I'm going to look at is I'm probably just going to put my hands on some stuff and just make sure that nothing obvious is jumping out at me. So everything is solid. There's no loose connections or anything, no obvious leaks.
Yeah, we don't want leaks.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So the pool is a closed system. It's a closed loop. So it's a sealed system. We don't want a bunch of air.
Yeah.
And so if we have leaks, we probably have some air in the system.
And for every valve, ideally, every valve will be identified.
Correct.
And even the flow of water through the pipes would be identified, maybe with a simple arrow,
Usually.
Yeah. just so you know what's going where and how to shut things off if you need to.
Yeah, and speaking of the valves, whenever I come to do a pool inspection, I'm not manipulating any of the valves,
Yeah.
especially out here in these vacation rental houses. They usually have pool and spa technicians come every week to service the pool.
Yeah.
They're usually going to be your best source of knowledge. If you can catch one while you're doing an inspection, then I would advise to ask them every time.
What kind of valve is this?
So here we have the multi-port valve, right? So this is on top of a sand filter. And as you can see right away, we have some hard water stains on the side. So we probably had a leak at some point in the past.
Okay.
Also, this towel you can feel it's
wet.
pretty wet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not a good sign. I would say that
So there's probably a slow leak somewhere or drip.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, something I would absolutely advise my client.
These are not very reliable or
They are. They just they tend to fail through
Tend to fail.
time. Yeah, time and use, and so it's just a valve. This whole thing pops
Yeah.
off, and it redirects the flow of water.
Yeah.
So when we talk about backfill or backwashing a system, it's done right here.
Yeah. Yep. And down there, that's the pump.
That is the
Circuit.
pump.
And as a home inspector, you look for the grounding wire.
That's right, yeah. So as you can see right here, we do have a grounding wire. It looks like it's securely fastened, and it's running back towards the rest of the components of the pool.
All right, cool. Anything else we should be looking at?
You know,
pay attention to?
this pool pump isn't running currently. So that's why we can talk in here. Otherwise, it'd be pretty loud.
Yeah.
But if it is running, I would look at, this is your sight glass. So when we look at a sight glass with the pool system, we're looking for clarity, water clarity in it. And, you know, if it's really dirty and gunked up, that means that it needs to be cleaned and backfilled.
All right, cool. All right, thanks. So we got the tub here, and I noticed, probably you noticed also, the cover isn't all that great.
Immediately.
It's a really bad situation with the cover.
Yeah.
And when you open the cover, oh, we got it turned off.
That's right.
So do you turn, if it's off, do you turn it on just to test things?
Probably if it's off, I would usually just leave it off.
Okay.
If it's running, then I'll manipulate it and go through the modes. But if it's off, I'm going to keep it off.
So if it's off, keep it off.
Yeah.
Do you pull any covers off, or do you look at any electrical things?
Yeah, so I'll pull this front cover off, and that's going to expose our motor and all the plumbing underneath.
And then the electrical disconnect is
That's right. The electrical disconnect is right over here.
right over there.
Yep.
And is that a component, official component of the tub?
The skull? Yeah. It looks like a great place to open a beer. So
Every tub has one.
that's right. That's right.
Cool. Okay, so we're in the bathroom. We have a few bathrooms in this house, but we're going to take a look at this one, and you're going to tell us, how do you inspect the bathroom? What's your process?
Okay, so I walk in, right? The lights are already on. I'm going to make sure to turn all the lights on, run the fan, and then let's get some water flowing.
Okay.
So
Are you going to let everything drain, or are you going to fill things up?
I'm going to fill it up. So I'm going to fill the bowl. I'm going to run the shower. Once the bowl is filled, I'll go over to the to the toilet, flush the toilet, drain the sink, turn off the shower.
Wow, looks like you got a process in place. Okay, so let's do that.
Okay. All right. All right, Ben, so we're getting close to the overflow drain.
Yep, and there it goes.
We do have water coming through.
All right.
I like to take a quick look underneath here. We'll shut the water off and just look if there's anything leaking.
I don't see anything.
So right away here, though, you could see if I put my flashlight down,
Yeah.
it looks like a past leak at some point with all this bubbling.
Right.
Right.
The material of the cabinet bubbled because of water.
That's right.
Huh.
So it looks like a past leak. It doesn't appear to be an active leak. You can just take your hand and just inspect and see if you feel any running water that you might not see.
Yep. Cool. All right, what's next?
All right, so we do have the bowl filled. We got the shower running. I've ensured that both of them work. The overflow drain works. Now we're going to test the venting system.
Okay.
So we'll go ahead and release the plug on the sink.
Okay.
Turn off the shower and
Flush the toilet.
flush the toilet all at the same time.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, you want to get the toilet while I get the sink?
Sure.
All right. All right, ready?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
And what are you looking for?
So we're listening for the gurgling sound of the vent system
In the sink.
in the sink.
Huh. I don't hear anything.
I don't either. And you can see that the sink is draining fairly slowly. So this is something that I would take a picture of and advise my client.
That's not going down at all.
I think it is just very slowly.
Yeah. Okay.
So we want to make sure to tax the system, tax the plumbing in the house, and ensure that everything's working properly.
Yep.
So
this bathroom has a vent above me.
it does. Yep.
But where's the switch?
Good question. Looks like it's right here.
Oh. Okay.
And it works.
Yep.
No rattling. It's not very loud.
Yep. And you check the windows?
That's right.
And
no cracked tiles anywhere on the floor that we could see.
I see a little thing. What about this?
Yep.
That's a hairline.
Yeah. So
Not really concerned.
No, but I will step around it just to see if there are any loose tiles. We don't want anyone to cut their feet when they're getting out of the shower.
Okay. Do you go in the shower?
I don't personally go in the shower, but I will look at it.
You grab that handle?
Yep.
And this all looks really good. It's fiberglass and I don't see any damage to it.
That's right.
Okay. So are we done with this bathroom?
I think so.
All right.
Let's
Let's go
move
to
on.
another one.
Okay. All All right, Ben, so we found a half bath here. So I've already turned the light and the fan on, so that's running. The next thing I do is I just look at the walls, the general condition of the room. I'm not seeing any cracks, any other water leaks in the ceiling. And then I'm also looking at the floor to make sure we don't have any more cracked tiles. Aside from this, we're gonna do the same process as the last bathroom. So I'm gonna fill the sink. We can see we have the overflow drain on the back side of the sink here. So I'll pull the plug, let the water run. As I'm letting the water run, we can look behind the sink and make sure we don't have any leaks in the plumbing behind here. So one thing I have found also is it appears to have some polybutylene piping behind the sink. And we're in the overflow drain. Now we'll look behind again, same process as last time. Make sure there's no obvious leaks. Take our hand. I don't feel anything. Now we did find this polybutylene piping back here. That is an automatic defect. It's an old material that isn't used anymore, and it's prone to leaking. It chemically changes with the water that causes it to leak. So now that we've got the sink filled, we'll go ahead and test the venting system in this bathroom as well. When I walk up to a toilet, the first thing I'll do is I'll step on either side of it and I'll just shuffle to see if it's loose. This one appears to be fastened to the ground. Now that we've got our bowl filled, we'll go ahead and release the drain and flush the toilet. All right, so when we test the GFCI outlet, we're gonna wanna test it mechanically and electronically. So we'll go ahead and hit the test button. It engaged, we'll reset, test our connection. So it looks like it's wired correctly. And then we'll engage the GFCI. And looks good. Reset. We're on to the next.
All right, I found the thermostat, and according to the standards of practice, you have to describe the location of the thermostat. It's right here, and we're gonna turn it on, and the unit itself is over here in this closet. And Grant's gonna take a look at it. So
All right.
the unit's in there.
Okay, check it out.
So the heat pump is on the outside. The compressor condenser unit
Yep.
is on the outside. And this is the air handler.
So this is the air handler. Essentially, it's a electric motor with a blower and a little radiator. So it pumps cool liquid in here and
Yep.
runs air across it, and then air goes out into your house.
Yeah.
Nice cool air. So
Yep.
yeah.
And what's that?
So that's your air filter, which is kind of ugly.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so dirty that it's literally being sucked in because the air's flow is not happening anymore because it's so plugged with dirt. But
Should we take it out and see
Yeah,
what's behind it?
we sure will.
Sometimes the ductwork is
Yeah, it's really,
really
hard
dirty.
to get it out. So
you're familiar with indoor air environments. What does this tell you?
yeah, it's really bad. I mean, they have not kept this clean at all, which is pretty obvious. And if you look in here, it's just full of dirt. And this is really it's really a biological hazard for your house because dust is where a lot of things grow. You know, bugs, mold, viruses, they're hanging out on all that
attach to the dust.
They attach to it, and it just creates an environment in here where they're just constantly growing and blowing it all over your house. So you want to keep this clean.
And some of us are very sensitive to indoor air quality environments that are not good.
Yes.
And this is a really good indication.
Yeah.
If your client was susceptible to mold and had, allergies and things like that, that's really good, valuable information.
Yeah, it sure is. And, you can do a number of things besides keeping clean filters. You can put in a blue light system these days. There's all kinds of different things that they can put in line that kill viruses and take things out of the air that you wouldn't otherwise with just a filter.
Just like you can get a UV filter for water from a well or something and kill the bacteria in the well. You can do it for your air that you circulate.
Yeah, in all the houses we've had, I always install one, actually. They're nice. And when you open up the plenum, when you go do maintenance on a box that has one of those blue light, the inside looks like brand new.
Perfectly clean.
Yeah, it's amazing how it's the same thing they do in hospitals.
Yeah.
So
well, the HVAC system is the lungs of the house.
Yeah.
They really need to be clean.
And these days, the houses that they're building to the standards they build now, they're so tight that they don't actually get a lot of air exchange from outside to inside. So things like carbon monoxide buildup.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 people in a 1,500 square foot house, after 5 hours, the carbon monoxide levels can be unsafe.
Yeah.
If they don't have proper ventilation, air coming from outside.
Yeah.
And older houses leaked. They just leaked from everywhere. But newer houses are really sealed tight. So it's an issue.
So you're going to snap some pictures of all that going.
Yeah, sure am. And advise the client that it hasn't been well taken care of and they need to keep it clean.
Cool.
So,
And that'll be in your report.
you bet. We open up everyone. Obviously, we can't inspect the ductwork throughout the house, but we can open up where the filters are and at least get a look at them there. So,
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thanks.
So Ben, I was mentioning the software that we use is made by Spectora. It just streamlines the process of your inspection. It can capture a lot of the comments that you ordinarily would use and don't have to rewrite them every time. So in this case, we were inspecting the HVAC system. So I'm going to go into my report. I'm going to go to heat and AC, and we're mentioning how the water that was draining next to the house and the condensation drain. So I click condensation drain, and I'm going to say repair and replace that drain. So that's going to be right at the top of the report and your checklist. And then when we go down here, and then scroll down to my defects, and very first one is not drain away. Fairly common thing that we write up. So it explains to the homeowner that the condensation drain listed in the area above, which I'll mark as first floor, north, exterior. So that's the location. They're not allow water to drain away from the house. Thus, water can settle against the foundation. Water against the foundation can cause deterioration over the years. This condensation drain needs to be repaired / replaced by a qualified contractor. So that comment is already made in there. And here's my recommendation. I go down here to environmental contractor and hit OK. And that's it. And we're done. And I can scroll right back and get down with my checklist for override this. So that's it.
All right. So you've made it to the kitchen.
Yeah.
So we have the lights on. Everything is illuminated. And the dishwasher has ran a complete cycle by now. So we've
Did it leak?
ensured it did not.
Okay.
It did not. Yeah, we didn't come back to a puddle.
Yeah.
Whenever I run the dishwasher, it's the first thing that I do whenever I come into a home because it usually takes the longest.
Right.
Periodically, though, I always come back and make sure that nothing's leaking and check on it.
Yep.
So since we're in here, I like to check all the appliances. So I'll get a cup of water, put it in the microwave,
Okay.
run it, and then take a temperature reading of it.
Okay. Or a coffee.
Or a coffee, yeah. Yeah,
Reheat it.
that's right. So then we'll go right down to the range and oven.
Okay.
I'll make sure to turn the oven on both bake and broil. And then we'll check the fan, the grease fan. We'll check and see how clean or dirty it is and ensure that it works.
Okay.
So it works, it's not too noisy.
Yep.
And it looks pretty clean under there too. All right. So next, as we're moving through, more plumbing, right? So we'll look at this, the plumbing on the faucet here. So we'll make sure that both hot and cold water work.
Okay.
So there's cold. And there's hot.
Cool.
So that works. Make sure to check both of them. Let the water drain through both.
And then check for leaks underneath.
Then we'll go underneath. Yep. All right.
I don't see anything.
I don't either. So I'm going to take my hand and just make sure that I don't feel anything.
And you're putting your hand underneath the trap.
That's right.
Underneath the fittings, by the valves.
All the
and
valves.
if there's something that you wiped off that's wet, then that's a leak.
Correct. And
That's
that'll be
easy.
marked as a defect on my report.
That's a great tool you have. Everybody should have one.
That's right. You know, one other thing that I like to look at is the caulk and the sealant around the bowl, around the sink bowl. So I'll make sure and just visually look, and you could run your fingers over it and see that the caulk has, if it's separated or not.
And GFCIs?
Yep.
All the receptacles on the kitchen counter should be protected by GFCI.
Correct. Yeah. Our current standard practice is that the kitchen on all outlets have GFCI.
I mean, it used to be just a few feet. It might be now it's everything. So even this one behind me over here should be protected by GFCI.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I stick it in here. And it's telling me it's wired correctly.
Correct.
So I push the button.
There we go. I just heard it click over here.
Reset. So you reset it and see if it turns back on. Yep.
There we go.
Good. And then same thing here.
Yeah.
This one here.
There it is.
Yep. Got it. Understand.
All right.
Thanks. And are we going to make sure that there is an anti-tip device on the stove?
Yes. Yep. So we'll just pull on it, push down, make sure that it's not tipping over.
Yeah, perfect.
All right.
What else?
So after that, the last thing that I do is I'll open up every cabinet in the kitchen just to ensure that they work. It's exceeding the scope of practice, but it's something that I like to advise my clients on.
Cool. Real good. And anything about the refrigerator? Do you inspect the refrigerator?
I just ensure that if it's on, that it is refrigerating inside. I don't pull the refrigerator out,
No.
just because of the water line behind it.
Yeah. Yep. Christian, that was a really great inspection. Thank you very much. I really
so
appreciate
much.
it. Your dad is awesome. We had a good time on the outside. He found some things for us. Now, how do we wrap this up? How do you do it for your clients? You're done with the inspection and you provide the report to them?
Yes, sir. So now that the inspection is done, I'll go back to my office. I'll make sure to upload any pictures and videos that I've taken that I haven't already included in the report.
Yeah.
And church it up a little bit just to make it presentable for my client.
And I get that within 24 hours or so?
Yes, sir.
And you'll give me a good idea of what really needs to be fixed, some of the immediate problems that you guys found?
Correct.
Like the really hazardous things. I really have to do something about them. And those are going to be in the report.
Yeah, I heard you guys had some issues out there on the electrical panels.
Yep, we do.
So we'll make sure to include all of that as well as the additional inspections of the pool and spa.
Awesome. Thank you again.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate you coming by and doing an inspection for us.
Thanks for coming out. I hope you enjoy our beautiful community here.
Yeah, we're having a fun time at the beach right now.
Looks like a good day for it.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. I'm Ben Gromicko,
Christian Dick, US Fin.
and we'll see you on the next inspection.